I can't wait anymore. I've got to play. I've got to play it. I've got to play Higurashi. I cannot wait anymore. And I know you can't wait anymore either. And I'm finally here to deliver. Listen to that sound. Higurashi, when they cry. I'm just gonna jump right into it. I guess I'd be lying if I said I didn't get any sleep. I tried to stay awake all night, but there were definitely gaps in my memory. I guess I kept nodding off and jerking awake in a panic all night. I spent all night hugging the metal bat and sat on top of the futon I used to barricade my door, waiting, watching just in case someone tried to break in through my window. If I left this spot, someone would break through the door, sending the futon flying and attack me. But if I stopped watching the window, someone would break through the glass and attack me. I tried telling myself I was just being paranoid, but I couldn't sleep. The thought of being so vulnerable scared the living daylights out of me. Scared the freaking pants off me. If sleep meant taking that risk, I didn't need it. It was so much better to just stay awake. At some point during the endless cycle of nodding off and jolting awake, light began to shine outside. But that was it. It wasn't so much the morning as it was just the sun simply having risen. I snuck a peek out through the curtains. Rena was gone. I couldn't see her anywhere, no matter how hard I looked. Finally, I could breathe a sigh of relief. The night was finally over. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tired, but I didn't feel like sleeping at the moment. I still had time, but I needed to make my own breakfast, so I'd better get started soon. Skipping school was also an option. With my mom gone, it'd be easy to play hooky. Hooky with who? What do you mean? Honestly, I debated it. The risk involved in leaving my house was incalculable, so staying holed up in here was probably my safest option. But staying here wouldn't solve anything. Oshi-san wouldn't help me without cold, hard evidence. Neither he nor my parents. So, unless I find some sort of proof, these relentless nights would never end. I stretched my body, tilted my head back, and closed my eyes just like I did every morning. I regulated my breathing. Regained my senses. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Let's go to school. Let's wait until they set their trap for me. Why are you going to school? I thought you just said you didn't have to. But that didn't mean I was just going to twiddle my thumbs. I needed to avoid the trap and secure irrefutable evidence. Take notes of the plates of cars that drive by. If I see someone suspicious, check their clothes and face. I wasn't just protecting myself, I was preparing myself to turn their attack against them and retaliate. The tension was similar to when the two samurai were both aiming to slay each other over a single motion as they drew their katanas. No, it wasn't, bro. It's similar to you being a small bug and them being a very big boot, bro. I was not at a disadvantage. Yes, you are. I would have a chance to retaliate. No, you won't. I finally felt a bit of courage growing in my chest. All right. Let's go to school. It's not courage so much as delusion, bruh. I tightened my grip on Satoshi's bat. He was the only partner I could count on. Satoshi, please lend me your strength. And entrust your dying regrets to me, since you were probably murdered. I'll make sure I dispel them. With renewed resolve, I checked the clock. It was still early. Of course, I was going to school by myself today. If I didn't want to run into Rena or Mion, I needed to leave now. The shattered fragments of the cupboard were still strewn all over the entryway. Right! I meant to clean that up last night, but never got around to it, the phone call and everything. If my parents come back and saw this while I was at school, I would never hear the end of it. Still, I'd be wasting time if I cleaned it up now, and considering what would happen if I ran into Rina or Mian, it wouldn't be too late to clean it up after I got back home. Making extra certain that the doors were locked, I had left the house. My uniform was still covered in mud from yesterday, so I left it in the washer. Today I was going to school in a tracksuit. By wearing a different outfit this morning, my mind was forced to accept that today was different from yesterday. I had a hunch. Today might be the day I get killed. Any day could be. Keep your guard up, Keiichi Maebara. The only one who gets to decide if today is my last is me. I feel like there's probably like an entire population of people in this town who have something to say about that. I don't know. I spent morning practicing my swing like it was my natural routine. After a while, Rina arrived at school. Our eyes met, but we said nothing. Rina said nothing about last night, as if it never happened, but I could see that those events were real by the wounds carved into her fingers. I just heard her telling Satoko and the others that the bandages were from hurting herself in the kitchen. Though it wasn't like it bothered me. The details that Oshi-san shared about Rina's incident before her transfer played vividly in my mind. Now that I knew about it, I couldn't even dream of Rina as a cute, ideal girl. I changed the icons. I found out I could turn it back to the original. So, this is Mion, just so you know. I think she looks way better.
Kei-chan, I see you're still aiming for the Nationals.
It was Mion. I had already sensed her approach, so I wasn't that surprised. Oh, Mion, if you understand, then leave me alone. I'm busy practicing. I gave her a curt reply without my usual jokes. Then I gave the bat an even larger swing, tactfully keeping Mion from getting any close.
Hey, Kei-chan, take it easy.
I think Mion got the message, but she still urged me to give it a rest.
Homeroom's not that far off, is it?
Oh, homeroom's not that far off, is it? Just let me finish practicing. I swung the bat even harder as a sign of my refusal.
Kei-chan, when did you get into baseball?
Just recently.
Recently? You mean yesterday?
Don't ask if you already know.
Oh dear. That's a very unsportsmanlike reply.
You're distracting me. Go away. I ignored Mion and kept swinging. Normally she'd get mad or bored and leave if someone gave her the cold shoulder like this. But Mion just stood there, waiting patiently for me to stop swinging. I don't sense any hostility. But we were at school in a plain view. I doubt she'd suddenly attack me here. Or was that too naive? Still, I was starting to get tired. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to take a break and hear her out. You need me for something, right? What is it? Sweat poured from me as I stopped swinging. I noticed my shoulders were heaving as I breathed. I cursed my lack of exercise. At this rate, I might not be able to move as needed when the time came. I should probably keep practicing my swings to build stamina in addition to the excuse for carrying the bat around with me.
Well, it's nothing important. If you're tired, I can ask again later.
Now is fine. I'm only dealing with you right now because I judge the situation to be safe. Talking to you alone away from the others, that's out of the question.
Well,
Mion was uncharacteristically trying to choose her words. But unlike Oshi-san, it didn't look like she was going to talk about something I'd rather not hear. Mion was puzzled, trying to find the right thing to say. But then she gave a hearty laugh to break herself out of the mire.
Ha 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 ha. This old man's just not good at this stuff. Having a poor vocabulary hurts.
What's this all of a sudden? If you have something to say, just say it.
Stop it.
Ooh.
Stop that swinging.
She cut straight to the point. Yikes. Her request was so frank I didn't understand it for a moment. I had already stopped swinging to listen to her, hadn't I? I just stopped, didn't I?
That's not what I mean. I want today to be the last day you swing that bat. I'm sorry.
It took me some time to understand what she was asking for. What's wrong with swinging a bat? Why? It's none of your business, is it? I'm not bothering anyone, am I?
You are.
Mion said it flat out. That didn't make any sense, and that was really irritating. When did I bother anybody? Mion was at a loss for words, but she finally made up her mind and spoke, though she stuttered as she said it.
Because, Kei-chan, that's someone else's bat. You shouldn't borrow without permission.
It was left behind by a student who transferred, right? I'm just borrowing it until he comes back for it.
Yeah, he transferred.
Mion grew uncharacteristically flustered. That made it all too clear that his transfer was a lie. But strange, isn't it, for the older brother to transfer by himself, while his little sister stayed behind? Mion couldn't hide her reaction as my words shook her up.
Kei-chan, you knew?
Satoshi Hoju. Satoshi's older brother, right? Sakato's older brother. The one demoned away last year. Unable to respond to that, Mion fell silent.
Rina asked the same thing.
Rina asked the same thing. Why did you start swinging that bat? She told me Satoshi did the same thing, practicing his swings right before he went missing. So, is this some kind of omen for Oroshiro-sama's curse? Shh. Mion panicked and looked around.
Please, Kei-chan, don't mention Oroshiro-sama so recklessly. I don't believe in him, but the others very much do. Rina especially.
Dangerously so?
Anyway, you're scaring everyone. If you're just fooling around, then stop it. You have to stop acting like Satoshi.
I was the one who was scared. Who do I have to thank for taking up this bat in the first place? But it still unsettled me knowing that my actions were overlapping with Satoshi's. It would be one thing if someone suggested it, but I thought I was making my own decisions. I'll say this now. I don't know anything about Satoshi. After all, you didn't tell me anything about him.
We didn't mean to hide it.
You were hiding the incidents that happen every year, weren't you?
That's because we didn't want to,
You didn't want to scare me? That's your reason for leaving me out?
No, we didn't mean to.
Mion, I asked you directly if something happened at the dam, didn't I? And you told me nothing happened. That's true. That's true, she did do that. When someone was dismembered and murdered, you lied to me.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lie to you.
Friends don't hide things from each other, right? Isn't that right? Then you all aren't my friends. Dang, that's a heavy blow, Keiichi.
Kei-chan,
Mion looked helpless and flustered. Was I imagining the tears in her eyes? I never could have imagined Mion acting like this. Oh, by the way, those get well mochi you brought me the other day, they were good. I thought I was going to bleed. What? Who did it? You? Or Rina?
Me.
She admitted it so easily. I couldn't help but be surprised at how easy that was. You could have killed me! How could you do that to a friend?
But it was just a little prank.
Mion gave me a wry smile mixed with confusion, causing even more anger to well up inside me. You think that was a prank? I grabbed Mion by the collar and lifted her up. Whoa! That wasn't the same as putting Tabasco sauce in a piece of mochi. It was a needle, a sewing needle. If I had swallowed that and it lodged in my throat, what did she think would happen? Mion's face froze as her body rattled in fear. That wasn't the Mion Sonozaki I knew anymore. Anyways, you're not my friend. There's no reason for me to listen to anyone who's not my friend. So just leave me alone for a while. Got it? Mion wasn't replying anymore. It won't be that easy to erase me, you know. The cops have been on you. The cops have been onto you from the start, so don't think you can make me disappear like you did Satoshi. I said it clearly. This was my declaration of war. I think you guys are suspects in the previous incidents too. I also know you spent a lot of time with the cops ever since the anti-dam movement. Don't think you can hide it from me. Got that?
How? How did you know?
Mion stood there with a dumbstruck look on her face. That was when I heard the principal ringing the bell for school. It was time for morning homeroom. Let's go. The class representative needs to be there, right? At that moment, for the first time, I realized Mion was sobbing as tears ran down her cheeks.
You're so mean, K-chan.
Me? I wanted to console her, but I shut my mouth. I had no need to feel guilty. I'm going. Don't be late for homeroom. I left Mion still shaking as I turned around to head for the entrance. I had no idea how troubling it would be to make a girl cry. Behind my back, I could hear her muttering. It was a faint mutter as she was speaking to herself. Man, this is actually kind of sad. I mean, Mion might be evil, but I like her better than the other girls. So that's how it is. Huh? Oh.
So that's how it is.
Huh? She wasn't saying it to anyone. It was Mion talking to herself. But it was a sobbing voice that had a kind of giddy, cursing tone. I inadvertently stopped and turned back towards her.
So, it was that bastard. He leaked it all to K-chan.
She balled her fists as her tears continued to rain down. She glared at a spot of the ground with a terrifying yet smiling face, cursing. A chill ran down my spine from the demonic expression. This transformation. Mion's transformation was different from Rina's.
I should have killed him back then. He forgot the mercy I showed him just because he was going to retire this year.
Retiring this year? Was she talking about Oshi-san?
Damn it. Damn it. I'm going to kill that damn old man.
Felt like the air itself had begun distorting. With Mion at the center, the world had begun to twist and spiral, bending, whirling. This was the first time I'd known experience such a visage. Oh, this was the first time I'd experienced such a visage.
Rise! Attention!
Mion made up an excuse for her red eyes by saying there was something wrong with her contacts. After that, neither Rina or Mion spoke to me for the rest of the day. Neither Satoko nor Rika-chan looked at me in the eyes. Strangely, I didn't feel hurt. Everything had just went back to the way it was. The month since I transferred in had been almost too much fun. That was all. School was supposed to be something like this to begin with. I should have disliked that feeling, but today it felt oddly refreshing. The bell rung, sounding the end of the monotonous school day, which had felt so tense yet so dull. Since it would cause a lot of unpleasant memories if they asked me to join the club activities, I promptly started preparing to go home without even looking at them. I stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag, wrapped my hand around a Satoshi's new familiar bat, and began heading towards the entrance. I was assailed by both the exhausting relief that nothing had happened today and the tiring possibility of the same thing repeating tomorrow. But deep down inside me, far beneath in the recesses of my heart, achingly, I knew. This would be the last day of this cycle. I couldn't tell how the ending would be. Whether it would end as I wished it to end, or if it would end as if I hoped it wouldn't. Regardless, in my current state, there was something more important than how things would end. There was something I wanted to know. Why did I have to be killed? How did it come to this? Why? For what purpose? The sunlight was relentless. The sun, the heat, even the air. They wouldn't give me any answers. Or could it be that the cries of the Higurashi were desperately trying to tell me something? Somewhere mixed in with their shrieks, Tamataki-san and Satoshi were also probably trying to tell me something. I simply haven't been able to realize it yet. When I do realize it, I wonder if I'll be amongst the Higurashi fruitlessly crying to the next victim. Glancing down at my feet, I saw Higurashi on its back, spasming weakly.
Breep, breep, breep.
There was still so much of the summer left, yet this one was already chirping its last song. I couldn't tell what it was saying, no matter how hard I listened. But I had to try. I had to try to listen to what it was desperately trying to tell me. At that moment, the shrills of the Higurashi ceased all at once, as if they had huddled together, fearing that the person who'd brought them to their dreadful fate had arrived. There was no mistaking it. A presence was approaching. The sound of footsteps was almost non-existent. If the Higurashi hadn't warned me about ending their chirping, I wouldn't have noticed. My exhaustion left me in a heartbeat. In its place was a rush of adrenaline that sharpened all my senses. It was just barely able to hold back that creeping, suffocating feeling of horror. It wasn't something I could hold back for long, but in this moment I needed it to be razor sharp. I was able to retain my composure. I wasn't going to shout like I did yesterday. I hid myself calmly amongst the trees, waiting for my pursuer's shadow. Could I get them to pass by me? No, since I was able to hear their footsteps, they were probably also able to hear mine. They might have already been able to tell what I'd hidden myself and was holding my breath. The person tailing me, was it Rena, just like yesterday? If it was Rena, I wouldn't hold back. I could just yell at her and make her go ahead like yesterday. If it wasn't Rena, it would depend on how they acted, I guess. The footsteps ambled closer. I swallowed, wiped my clammy heads on my pants, and readjusted the grip of my bat. I could tell that the fear that I had beaten back once was now waiting for another opening to come at me. Who could it be? I peeked out from behind the tree at the person following me. My imagination hadn't led me astray. It was Rena. Hi, Rena. There was a bit of relief as I realized it was someone I knew, but that feeling left me in an instant. This wasn't the same Rena that I knew. Yeah, this is the demon Rena who tried to break into your house last night. What is that? Her eyes were dark and lifeless, but her mouth appeared as if it was carved into a crescent. Yes, it looked like she was grinning slightly. And in her right hand was an axe. I hid myself behind the tree once again and recalled the unbelievable sight I had just saw. What was that just now? The embodiment of terror laid bare. Baseball, practicing my swing. There were tons of excuses for me to be carrying a bat. But for that axe, there was no excuse for that. An axe just like that?
Keiichi-kun! Are you playing hide and seek, I wonder?
My heart was pounding. Hard enough that I had trouble breathing. What little composure I had been able to hold on to was now crushed. In its place, cold sweat gushed forth, covering my entire body, letting me know precisely what kind of emotion had taken hold. Not good. Not good. Not good. I wasn't able to hide myself completely. She already knew I was here.
Were you trying to scare me, I wonder?
I decided that it would be better to reveal myself now since there was... Why? Are you... What? Oh my god. Run away! Since there was still space between us, then... I decided that it would be better to reveal myself now since there was still space between us than to allow Rena to come any closer. I adjusted my grip on the bat again, ready myself mentally, and stepped out from behind the tree. I found you. Oh.
I found you, Keiichi-kun!
Rena was pleased that she found me, eliciting a mysterious giggle. Her mouth was smiling, but her eyes told me she was displeased by the fact that I had been hiding. Those eyes, they were just so empty. My legs began to quiver. Ugh, not good. In the pit of my stomach, some sort of vicious, hot, and cold substance began spreading around. If I allowed it, that substance would slip into my bloodstream and undoubtedly freeze all my organs in my body. Not good. Not good. I'll be devoured by Rena at this rate. Strike back. Don't lose. What is it? I blustered, hiding behind my bravado. But Rena didn't flinch one bit.
Just the same as Keiichi-kun. I'm heading home.
Then what about that axe?
Then what about that bat you're holding?
I'm practicing my swing.
Then I'm treasure hunting.
Rena gave a flippant explanation as to why she had such a fearsome weapon. Treasure hunting?
At the treasure mountain near the dam site, I found a new cute thing. So I needed this to dig it out.
How could I believe that?
You wouldn't believe it, would you?
Rena's laugh was obviously very strange. She's jokering, bro. She's joking me right now. I'd seen Rena's transformation many times before, but the one today was completely different. Like her mischievous tone and shrewd glint in her eyes. It wasn't something that roundabout. I'm not sure what to say. It was just so obvious.
Wait, Keiichi-kun!
Rena didn't stop walking, even as she let out that eerie laugh. Whenever Rena got too close to me, I would scurry away and turn back towards her. This cycle repeated over and over. No matter how you would look at it, I was being chased by Rena. I was trying to escape. Just run away. Stop looking behind you. Don't follow me!
I can't do that. My house is this way after all.
When I met with Rena on this road yesterday, she cowered and trembled as she followed my commands. But today was different. Rena didn't show a hint of trepidation. Actually, wasn't I the one who was cowering? If the way home for Rena and me was the same, that's fine. I just changed my route. That'd work out, wouldn't it? I turned onto a side street I'd never been down and knew little about. Run away! But Rena saw me do that and followed me while laughing. Why? Why? Because she's trying to kill you. Aren't you going home? Then just go home down the street like you normally do. Why would you follow me this weird little side road? Those thoughts screamed in my head, eventually spilling out of my mouth. Why are you following me? The tone of my voice was utterly tinged with terror.
Because I want to talk to Keiichi-kun. Keiichi-kun wants to talk to Rena too, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
I don't want to talk about anything with you.
That's a lie, isn't it? There's something you want to ask me about, isn't there?
Not at all. I have nothing to talk about to you about.
That's a lie, isn't it?
It's not a lie.
Lies!
Rena's scream echoed, startling some nearby birds into flight. I cringed in fear. The only thing I could do was increase my pace.
Let's talk, Keiichi-kun. Talk. Talk.
Why was I running down this unfamiliar and deserted street?
Doesn't Keiichi-kun have something where he's worried about?
Nothing at all. I'm not worried about anything.
Lies!
Even though I was running, even though Rena was walking, why wasn't I getting any further away? I know, I really do know. Oh.
I know, I really do know. You're scared, aren't you, Keiichi-kun?
I'm not scared. I'm not scared of anything.
Lies!
My breathing grew heavy and it felt like my legs were giving out from beneath me. Rena wasn't even breaking a sweat. I'll listen. This time I'll listen. I had no idea what she was talking about. Oh, that was her.
I'll listen. This time I'll listen.
I had no idea what she was talking about or what exactly she wanted to do.
This time I'll listen. It'll be different from the time with Satoshi-kun.
When she said Satoshi's name, I turned back for a moment. You dumb idiot. But even as I did that, Rena was still advancing. I couldn't afford to stop.
Satoshi-kun was worried too. It looked like he was having such a hard time, but I didn't listen. I was so sad.
Where did the street connect to? All these twists and turns, ups and downs. It was hard to believe that this was even remotely in the direction towards my house. My sense of direction had long since gone out the window.
I really regretted it when Satoshi-kun transferred out. I thought if I had to listen, he may not have transferred out. I really regretted that.
The road led me deeper into the forest. I wasn't getting further away from the village more than I ran. I lost more and more of my composure the more I thought about it. But despite this realization, my inner self was still disturbingly calm.
So you see, I vowed that if I was there was someone struggling like Satoshi-kun did, I'd save them. I didn't want to see anyone transfer out again.
Damn it! Why does transfer even mean? I won't let you transfer me. I won't end up the same as Satoshi.
Come on, Keiichi-kun, talk to me. I'll be able to understand you, Keiichi-kun. I'm your ally.
I started wheezing out of breath. My lungs were so hot that it felt like they were going to explode, and my heart was beating so hard as it possibly could. I should have practiced running instead of my swing. No shit. I couldn't even afford to scoff at that stupid thought.
If Keiichi-kun doesn't have anything to worry about, he'll go back to normal. Everyone will be back to being friends, and we can enjoy club activities again. Next time we'll team up and be Mi-chan.
Yeah, how much fun that would be. Rina couldn't even imagine how much I would wish I could turn back the clock in the past few days.
You could be nice to me again, too. I want to go searching for treasure again. This time I'll prepare a nice lunch. Actually, we can just go right now. Let's go up to the jam site together. I'll show you the little cute thing I just found. I'm sure you'll like it, too.
My footsteps made pathetic flapping sounds as my legs wobbled and faltered. Hot in my heels, Rita's steps were sharply breaking twigs underfoot. I had to accept it. I was on the run being chased by Rina. What? If she caught me, it was all over. I realized it instinctively. I couldn't even begin to think of what the end would entail. Just that if I was caught, it was all over. That's all I knew. I didn't matter how it was going to end. I wouldn't let it end. Not without knowing anything yet. That momentary lapse was all it took. All the things that could have happened, my knees buckled underneath and I crumbled towards the ground. You're fucking dead, dog. You're so dead, I don't know what to tell you. I tried to stand frantically, urging my legs to respond. I used my bat as a makeshift cane to prop myself up, but Rina was already standing right in front of me. Compared to me out of breath and utterly exhausted, Rina was so cool and composed that she could have froze the air around her. She wasn't breathing hard at all. Rather, I couldn't even sense if her heart was beating.
Are you afraid of something, I wonder? It's not like you tremble, Keiichi-kun.
Her expression looked almost affectionate. Those soulless eyes, that mask of affection. As she admonished me for trembling, Rina's hands deftly slipped over her head. The blur of arms as they moved toward me fell as if I was staring at the godlessness of a thousand-armed Buddha. Let me read that again. As she admonished me for trembling, Rina's hands deftly slipped over her head. The blur of arms as they moved made me feel as if I was staring at the godliness of the thousand-armed Buddha. Then, as both her hands met above her head, the axe that she had held came into focus. I stared up at it in disbelief. It was all I could do. Tell me, what happened to Satoshi? Rina stayed like that with the axe raised above her head and solemnly opened her mouth. It was as if she was expressing a farewell to a friend that she'd never seen again. That cruel scenario resided somewhere in her actions.
I told you. Satoshi-kun transferred out.
Enough of that transfer crap. It means demon away, doesn't it? Doesn't it? You can tell me now, can't you? Who made Satoshi disappear? Was it you? Mion? Or someone in the village? Answer me! I became frantic the more I screamed, but Rina did nothing but maintain the smile frozen on her face.
I have no idea what Keiichi-kun is talking about.
Then I'll say it in a way so you do. Who is the perpetrator of the chain of mysterious deaths?
You seem to be confused, Keiichi-kun.
What?
There is no human perpetrator. Everything is by Urashiro-sama's will.
Isn't Urashiro-sama's curse just superstition? You believe in that too?
It's not about believing or not. Urashiro-sama exists. Period.
Rita's gaze grew even more galid. The ferocity of her stare was so intense, not allowing me to question anything. There's just no way that something like Orishiro-sama could exist.
You don't believe in Hiroshima?
There's no way I could believe it. There's no way it could exist.
It exists. Hiroshima exists. Keiichi-kun should have felt it personally.
I have never felt something like that.
Keiichi-kun, haven't you felt someone apologizing to you before? Constantly on top of that?
All noise from the outside world disappeared. Only Rina's voice resounded loudly and terribly.
You see, until you forgive them, they'll always be with you. At school, at home, at your bedside. I couldn't understand
what Rina was saying.
It came to me too. Orishiro-sama did. That's why I transferred and came back to Hinamizawa.
I don't understand. I don't understand. What does transfer even mean? What is Rina saying?
Hasn't Orishiro-sama come to you as well, Keiichi-kun? I'm probably the only one who can confide in. I won't let you transfer out. Okay?
Rina's demented laughter clanged around inside my head. Was Rina saying Orishiro-sama came to her as well? That's right. Last night I had heard about that when I asked about Rina. Please keep this confidential. Also, part of this may be speculation. Not all of it may be true. Are you still interested? Oshi-san began speaking. Neither the victims nor the school filed a complaint, so there's no preliminary report. Basically, the police hadn't intended this matter, so all these details are just what I heard from those involved. I mean, it's not that credible. You said there were victims. Didn't Rina just break all the windows? No, Rina Rugu had attacked 3 boys, using a metal bat. 2 of them made it out with only bruises, but the other had been injured so badly that one of his eyes was permanently damaged. Wouldn't that be considered assault? Shouldn't the police have arrested her? For whatever reason, the victim never pressed charges. There were no report to the police, so they were beaten with that bat and suffered some vicious injuries. Normally there would be a criminal investigation, but why didn't they press charges? I tried asking 3 male victims for their side of the story, but they were all reluctant. It's hard to say, but they were all afraid, even after she had transferred schools. Oshi-san, could you summarize it starting from the beginning? Rina hit people while she broke the windows. Or was it she started breaking the windows after she got bored hitting people? They sounded similar, but the meanings were drastically different. On an undisclosed date, Rina Rugu was conversing with 3 male students, close friends of hers, near the pool storage shed. Who were those 3? I can't reveal their names, but they were close to Rina Rugu, and it seems they were a group of her friends. She was the lone girl in their group, so it wasn't that strange for the 4 of them were together. So what happened? I don't know the reason why. She took the baseball team's bat that was in the pool storage shed and beat the 3 of them down one after the other. What? There were no witnesses. What? What are you talking about? The whole school was witness. Huh? There were no witnesses. This is an account pieced together by the information given at the time of the incident. There's at least 3 witnesses, bro. I don't know what that means. One day after school, Rina had 3 male students were at the pool storage shed talking together. Yeah, I just read this. They weren't seeking help, rather they usually met up there. It appears it became a heated discussion. At that time, Rina underwent a change. She turned to red. That change was so abrupt that the three of them didn't comprehend what was happening. Then, taking the metal bat, she attacked her friends one after the other. Leaving her friends covered in blood with gashes on their head, she made her way towards the school building. Then she broke the glass windows one after the other. A few minutes later, a teacher appeared on scene and subdued her. What was this change Rena underwent? What matches up in the statements from the three was a sudden change. Okay, the point that there was a transformation. Transformation? I also could recall Rena's transformation. I'd see that change many times before. It was so different from the usual Rena that I couldn't help but believe it was someone else who looked like Rena. That transformation they're talking about, had it happened before? No, there was nothing like it. As far as I could find out in her medical history and past, there was nothing like it. Does that happen often, where people change suddenly like Rena did? Of course it does. There are plenty of psychological phenomena that could cause something like that. Then you're saying there was a dormant element in Rena that caused that transformation. I cannot say that for certain. But according to the statements of her friends, it's hard to believe she has such a side to her. Kind, caring, and adorable. Even before she transferred here, she was probably pretty popular in school like she was now. That girl transferring suddenly had assaulted them with a bat. Who could imagine such a thing? Nobody could see it coming. I myself sometimes believe that I was mistaken for thinking that was Rena, even now. Then, what happened after that? There was a hospital right across from the school, so the three of them were carried in and treated quickly. What about Rena? What about the police? Why wasn't there a criminal investigation? You see, the police can't get involved unless they are called. Even though one was badly injured with permanent damage? Why didn't they file charges? That's what caught my attention as well. Either some threat or pressure was placed on them, or they had a reason they couldn't file charges even if they wanted to. We're talking about you after all. Of course you looked into it, didn't you? Well, yeah. But I told you at the beginning, didn't I? That the victims were very reluctant to talk. They didn't want to touch on the matter, or rather, they didn't want to be involved. Reluctant to talk? Didn't want to touch it? Didn't want to be involved? It resembled the villagers here in Urashio-sama's curse. Did the teacher at the school tell you anything? School is hollow ground. You could say they tend to keep scandals under wraps. I didn't have a search warrant, so I had to tread lightly, see? Then there was no comment from the school? No. They denied the incident even happened. Do you need a warrant if it's a public school? Genuine question. It's just 3 male students were carried in from blunt force trauma that day. That's all there was in the hospital records. The victims didn't speak. The school denied it happened. Then you don't know anything at all? Yeah. I know nothing other than the incident itself had taken place. The victims also wished this incident to be kept from the public, so if you and I both forget about it, maybe by our saying, then this incident will probably just fade away. For a brief period, we sat in silence. At first glance, it looked like a simple assault case, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. Tip of the penis. The depths of the obscured by rolling waves sinking quietly into the void, as if it never existed to begin with. After that, she was suspended by the school, and during that time she underwent psychiatric counseling. Did you hear anything from that doctor? Again, they were very professional in regards to their ethics. Or at least, very tight-lipped. Nothing even after you showed them your badge? That's what's that? Doctor-patient confidentiality, KG Maribaro, don't you know that? I was told to get a warrant. The badge itself has no legal binding authority after all. Then how did you know that Rena confessed that it was Hiroshiro-sama who did it? There was a nurse I asked in that department. She agreed to help me just from showing her badge. Oh. Then what did she say? Turns out the nurse hadn't heard anything. Apparently, All that she remembered was that she overheard from inside the room. The nurse said that at the time, Rina Rugu was very calm and mild-mannered. It was more like she was confessing her sins at church than a counseling session. She spoke with her mother there for some of it, but partway through her mother was asked to leave, so it became a private counseling session between just the doctor and Rina for a while. The part with Orashiro-sama, when did that pop up? Partway through, she screamed the name suddenly. That startled the nurse, and that's why she started listening in.
It was Orashiro-sama!
Rita suddenly shouted that. I had no idea that was what was said before that, so I had no idea what the meaning behind it could have been. The doctor calmly and collectedly asked Rina to have a seat. What is it, Rita? What is this Orashiro-sama you speak of? Gently, ever so gently. The fundamentals of counseling was believing that you were told.
Whoever abandons Hinamizawa will be hunted down by Orashiro-sama, and they've finally gotten to me.
That's the town you lived in before you moved here. Isn't that right, Rugu-san?
I didn't want to move, but because of my mom and dad's circumstances we had to, but Orashiro-sama wouldn't allow it.
Rugu-san, you must have lots of friends in Hinamizawa. Even now, you must be missing them dearly. Don't you think?
I want to go back. Back to Hinamizawa. No, it's not that I want to go back. I have to go back. I should have gone back much sooner. But now it's too late. Orashiro-sama has come.
Orashiro-sama is the name of the god in Hinamizawa. Isn't that right?
Everyone knows it's Hinamizawa's guardian deity. Even if you ever try to abandon Hinamizawa by leaving, you'll incur his wrath.
Excuse me. You had moved quite a while ago, didn't you? Then it was just now that the god has arrived. It's what you're saying?
You might not believe me, but Orashiro-sama exists.
That nurse was then asked by another nurse to do something and left the room. That was all she remembered. That was Orashiro-sama's doing, right? I do believe there is that kind of superstition in Hinamizawa, that if you leave the village, then you incur Orashiro-sama's wrath. You should be familiar with this part, Maebar-san. I knew very well that those scorned by the village incurred to hinder the dam construction project, they cursed the construction foreman to his death. Then the following year, Satoko's parents, supporters, and leading advocates for the dam were cursed to their death. But this is the first time I heard the curse incurring by leaving the village. This is my first time hearing that. I can understand outside threats being cursed by the village, but why also villagers who leave? Normally, people who leave villages aren't supposed to be cursed, right? I know it's a bit strange to say it, but I could see it as a rule that the people who came in are the ones who would be cursed. Far from Jupiter, far from this thunder. Curses weren't something that chase after people that leave, were they? Oshi-san pondered for a bit over on the other end at the receiver, then began speaking again. Well, I told you of long ago when Hinamizawa was called Onikakushi, didn't I? I recalled hearing that. Long ago, Hinamizawa was feared and respected as the village of ogres. Feared and respected. The villagers of the foot of the mountains worshipping the ogres, so Onikakushi was hallowed ground and you could never enter. It came to be said that if you entered carelessly, you would be cursed by Orashiro-sama. Those who set foot in Onikakushi, in other words, Hinamizawa, would be cursed. I could understand that. I know that, but for leaving to also be no good, that's also the ogres, you see. They are being strictly watched by Orashiro-sama so they would not enter into our world. In other words, Orashiro-sama probably restricted interaction between Onikakushi and the rest of the world. I see. I finally understand what sort of thing Orashiro-sama was. You did? So basically, Orashiro-sama is more like a warden than a protectorate deity, I guess. Trying to keep this place isolated from the rest of the world? I guess that's how it would seem. I'm sorry, I don't very much know myself. This is mostly what was passed on to me from my grandmother. I could understand it a bit better if it was like that. Those who came to Hinamizawa would be cursed, and those who tried to leave would also be cursed. So, because Rina originally lived in Hinamizawa and moved away, she fulfilled the requirements for being cursed. So that means, because Rina moved away, against his wishes, she was cursed by Oroshiro-sama. Is that what it adds up to? In short, that seems to be what it points to, I guess. As a matter of fact, soon afterwards they did move back to Hinamizawa after all. Those who abandoned Hinamizawa and left were cursed. But then, why only Rina? Shouldn't Rina's parents also have been guilty of the same transgression by moving away and have been cursed? Also, in this day and age in Japan, shouldn't there be a lot of people coming and going? If every single one of them was cursed, then it'd be insane. But in reality, it wasn't that big of a deal at all. At most, there would be one person dying and one disappearing on the day of the Watanagashi. I don't like saying at most, though. Well, anyways, there's a lot still I don't know. Even if it was Oroshiro-sama's curse, it doesn't add up to us as to why her classmates, the victims who were beaten with a metal bat, wouldn't press charges. You don't think the victims were cowering because they believed you were a terrible curse had befallen them, do you? Oh, wait. Of course I didn't want to believe it. But, more importantly, I had just realized something else. There was another bizarre connection that Rina had made between Oroshiro-sama's curse and metal bats. Satoshi fell victim to Oroshiro-sama's curse and went missing. I had recently learned that Satoshi had also become infatuated with the metal bat right before he disappeared, just like me. Then Rina as well. She was affected by Oroshiro-sama's curse. She confessed that much to the doctor. Dude, wait. Is Satoshi's bat actually Rina's bat? And the weapon which he had used at the time of that horrendous act was again a metal bat. And finally me. I had encountered various things that were inexplicable, and now I was holding onto a metal bat. I was shocked when I learned that Satoshi did the same thing. It couldn't be. Had the same thing happened to Rina? But there was one critical difference between her and Satoshi's case. That being, Satoshi went missing after falling victim to the curse, but Rina was still here. Both of them had fallen victim to Oroshiro-sama's curse, yet they were met with different endings. And finally, me. I couldn't call it a coincidence anymore. Rina, Satoshi, and finally me. Could it be that I really was under Oroshiro-sama's curse right now? No, more importantly than that, what should I do now? Satoshi had been demoned away, vanishing without a trace. Rina was fine. Fine? Rina had undergone a change. I could only believe that there was something that wasn't Rina residing within her. And here right now, it was standing before me. Rina, please tell me. What will happen to me? Rina stood imposingly, not answering. Satoshi disappeared, but Rina didn't disappear. So what will happen to me? I had never heard such an unpleasant laugh before. It had become akin to the sound of her breathing. It was no longer a voice or an expression of feeling.
Don't worry. I'll save you.
Rina took one step forward, still holding the axe high above her head.
Now then,
One step closer, Rina's face spread out to fill my vision.
speak.
One step closer. Rina's nose was close enough to touch mine and was still pushing closer.
There's something you want to say, isn't there? I'll listen. I'll save you, okay? Speak, okay? Speak, okay?
I slumped down, landing squarely on my butt. It wasn't for some pathetic reason. It was all I could do to get far away from Rina. Oh my god. I had the gut feeling that I couldn't let her laughter end, because when that laughing ended, the moment I picked up on that feeling, my body moved by instinct. I sprang to my feet so fast I couldn't believe it and pushed Rena away with both hands. Rena was light as a feather. Thrown about by the unbalanced weight of the axe, she was sent backwards as if she had carried off by the wind. After confirming that out of the corner of my eye, I dashed up at full speed. It was a perfect picture of feeling like a greased pig. Get away from Rena. Finally. Run away. Survive! I couldn't think of anything other than this. While I was running, I remembered I'd been holding onto a bat the entire time. I don't understand why you weren't thinking about that before. Such a worthless weapon. I couldn't believe I'd forgotten about this weapon at such an important time. I sped even farther down the winding path. I didn't even feel myself grasping for breath or my legs getting heavy. My body understood it as well. If I didn't run away from here, I wouldn't live. I could hear the laughter that simulacrum of Rena coming from behind me. I rang through the trees and in my head and slowly chiseled away at my sanity. The grove of trees thinned out, my field of vision suddenly expanding. Where was this? For a moment I was bewildered by the scenery and I felt like I knew but couldn't quite remember. I quickly realized. It was the dam site. The fact that I dashed madly and ended up in a place like this gave me a bad feeling, like I was following someone's scripted plot. I had a good view of my surroundings, but I didn't see a single soul here. This was a terrible spot for someone on the run, but there was no better place for an attacker. My heart was already on the verge of bursting. The muscles in my legs were screaming, but I didn't care. If I stopped here, then that might not even be able to scream for much longer. Even still, I glanced back, looking for an excuse to rest. Rena wasn't there. Instead, I saw two villagers walking around. I breathed a sigh of relief that it wasn't Rena, but a third party. Except the voice inside me rang an alarm once again. Villagers walking around weren't suspicious and of themselves, but it bothered me. They both were rough-looking clothes. Empty-handed, they definitely gave the impression that they were just out for a walk. But at this time of day, two adults wandering around without a purpose, it was enough to raise questions. But more than anything else, those eyes. They weren't chit-chatting while walking. They were both silent, heading forward, looking in my direction. Ugh. Was I at the end of my rope and had finally started imagining things? I should run away. That was probably the best choice. If they weren't involved, I'd lose them easily by running. If they were part of the group after me, then they would come running after me. Either way, unless I hurried up, Rena could catch up with me. That's right, I was going to run. Deciding that, the moment I began to turn tail, both of them rushed towards me as if they knew exactly what I was thinking. Somewhere inside me, I had jumped to the conclusion that Rena was the only thing I needed to be afraid of. I made the assumption that I didn't need to fear anything else. But right now I realized just how blatantly wrong I was. Suddenly the story Oshi-san told me about the demons all leaving the village to hunt prey floated through the back of my mind. I could tell they were both coming after me without even turning around because of their frenetic footsteps. It was frightening, being able to shake Rena off as she slowly closed in on me. This didn't even compare. Being pursued by such violent ferocity, this straightforward horror was unparalleled. One of the pursuers' arms grazed my shoulder. Now it wasn't just their frenzied footsteps, but also the distinct sound of their breathing that I could hear. Ew. No, I could practically feel them breathing on me. They were already right behind me. Calm down, Keiichi Maribara. Still running at full tilt, I felt the surrounding area go still. No, it felt like time itself had stopped. I turned my head back slightly to the frozen world, realizing how close my pursuers had gotten to me. I couldn't win against the legs of an adult. In less than the time it would take to blink twice, when this frozen time began moving again, they'd be right on top of me. On top of me, and then... Don't think about that, Keiichi. First, realize that you won't be able to shake them off like this. If the fact that you can't get away was a given, then you need to make a decision. Go with the right leg or go with the left leg. You just need to decide which one. Let's go with the left. The moment I decided that, the temporal singularity burst into pieces. Right! Left! I swung the bat in a wide arc with my right arm. Using the inertia, I stopped to suddenly spin. What? The two of them were clearly startled. Momentarily losing sight of me, both of their outstretched arms ready to grab me instead of grasped at empty space. The man on the right, I applaud him being able to figure it out, spun around to the spot I shouldn't have been and faced me in astonishment. Way to go, buddy. But it was too late. I didn't even need to swing my bat. All I needed to do was extend my arms as I turned around. It was by no means a heavy blow, but it seemed like it had enough power behind it to knock him off his feet. But just knocking him down wasn't enough to scare him away. He got back up in no time. Both of them took a fighting stance and were ready to face me. This made me certain they weren't just two people out for a walk. They were clearly after me. It felt much easier than dealing with Rena. It did? What? Just by not recognizing their faces, by not knowing them, it made things easier. Oh, that's what you mean. I smiled wryly on the inside. What do you want with me? Next one is going to be right in your face, you bastard. It's fine if it was just a bluff. By barking at them, I was able to fire myself up. They didn't respond. They spread out to either side of me with unbelievably calm expressions on their faces. One of them would grab onto my bat and the other would hold me down. Was that their plan? Taking on both of them at once would be impossible. Hot sweat poured from every pore in my body. Then I'd just have to settle it with my first move. I'd step in and strike the first one down. Narrowing my target down to the man on the right who had already been knocked down before, I stepped in and swung with all my might. There was no way for an unarmed person to guard against it. It would cause immense damage. If they blocked it with their arm, their bone would snap like a twig. If they turned their back to it, then it was possible that the blow would travel all the way to their vital organs. It looked like he was aware of this. He pushed farther through the kill zone between us and delivered a first right into my gut. Oh. Not good with this distance, in this position, and in this stance. There was no way for me to dodge it. The world flipped upside down, and I understood that I was being tossed around like a rag doll. I landed on the soft earth without a sound, feeling the grainy soil press against my face. Shit. It didn't hurt at all. But the moment I thought that, I suddenly felt pain coming from the abrasion of my skin, as well as the contents of my stomach being forced upwards, floating my mouth with a bitter sensation. I knew very well that I didn't have the time to relish this experience. I stood up as quickly as I could, but at that moment the other man was already barreling towards me. Being able to comprehend calmly that I simply couldn't dodge it, I made it all the more upsetting. After plowing into my stomach full force once again, my assailant twisted around behind me and locked his thick arm around my neck. Oh man, my throat felt like it was being crushed by his immense strength. I couldn't even contemplate that I was being strangled or that I was about to go unconscious. My vision simply darkened and a silent, whining noise began playing deep inside my mind. It took everything I had to keep myself from blacking out. While this was happening, the other man was more than likely standing in front of me. I wasn't able to open my eyes, but I could feel that he was there. There was nothing I could do now. Unable to shake this arm off me, I couldn't run. I couldn't fight back. Dire straits, I couldn't even come up with the phrase that adequately described my situation. What happened? I'm back home? A familiar ceiling. The smell of the bed and pillows, I knew them well. Was this my room? Normally there wouldn't be anyone in my room besides me, but their presence made me spring wide awake. When I did that, pain shot throughout my entire body. What the fuck are you doing here?
Feeling alright? I think you better just lie down for a bit.
Why was Rena in my room? Blood began to surge through my muscles and my capillaries. But Rena's smile belonged to Rena I knew well. I knew I shouldn't let myself feel this way, but I relaxed thinking that this version of Rena was safe. Why am I...
Don't you remember?
After losing consciousness, nothing at all. My body had become more lethargic than I could ever have imagined. I guess that would be the expected outcome from exerting everything I had back there. I tried to at least clear my mind, and I couldn't shake the sluggish feeling out of my mind.
I called the doctor. He should be here soon. I think you'd better just lie down until then.
I wasn't injured seriously enough to merit calling a doctor, but knowing that someone impartial was coming was slightly reassuring. Why am I here? I'm sure I was at the dam site.
That's what I want to know. What happened? When I got there, Kichikun was already passed out.
That's why I'm the one who wants to know. I was attacked by two weirdos. As I talked about it, I finally remembered that happened right before I passed out. Recalling that memory and the terror that went along with it caused the fogginess around my head to clear right up. Let's forget about those two right now. I didn't expect Rena to be nursing me. I thought Rena was trying to kill me. She wouldn't have had the perfect chance while I was unconscious. Not only did she not kill me, she had nursed me back to health. Amazing you could drag me all the way back here. Wasn't I heavy? Looking at Rena's delicate frame, it was hard to believe that she had not only gotten me back home, but even dragged me all the way up to the second floor. Did she have some help?
Don't you remember Kichikun?
Rena appeared a bit surprised, but still kept her smile.
I only propped you up on my shoulder. You said you could walk on your own, and that you were fine. You don't remember?
I didn't remember. My memory was fuzzy after the point where I lost consciousness. What about those two?
Huh?
When you got there, Rena, they're the ones with me, or rather those two guys.
There wasn't anyone.
Don't fucking trust her, bro. She said it bluntly. The way she stated it felt slightly unpleasant. It was just too timid at the time. I might have been able to force some answers out of Rena. But if I did that, then this kind of... Excuse me. But if I did that, then this kind Rena might transform into the scary Rena I didn't know. Fearing that I didn't pursue any further. Thinking about it, it was the obvious choice. If both those men were there, I didn't think Rena would even have stood a chance. I couldn't find a way to explain it unless I assumed she brought me here after those two were already gone. Rena was still smiling. Her eyes sparkled warmly. Yet, I felt like it was hallucinating when I saw something. Something akin to a shadow slowly creeping across her face. That small omen sent shivers down my spine. While Rena was still Rena, I needed to make contact. I needed to contact Oshi-san. Rena stopped me when I tried to get out of bed. She said it would aggravate my wound, so I should sleep. I'd like to go to the bathroom, though.
Sorry.
Rena couldn't say anything else. While Rena stayed in the room, I quickly went downstairs to get the phone receiver in the living room. When I approached the front door, the doorbell rang ding dong. It must have been the doctor Rena had called. It was strange for a patient to welcome in the doctor who was making a house call, but it would be incredibly reassuring to have him here for the considerable time it would take Oshi-san to get here. I carelessly opened the door with a simple assumption and regretted it almost instantly. What the fuck? Mion, do you have a fucking gun? Mion!
Oh, you look just fine. I heard you collapsed, so I came to check up on you.
How did you know I collapsed?
I heard from Rena over the phone. Do I need any reason other than that?
I understood why she would call a doctor. But why Mion too? Rena was descending the stairs behind me.
Rena, doesn't Keiichi-chan look pretty alright? Sheesh, you made me worry for nothing.
Oh, that's true. Maybe I worried for nothing as well.
They both began laughing. It appeared to be cheerful laughter, but I couldn't shake the feeling that they were darkness looming over them.
Whoa, what's up with this shoe rack? How did it get like this?
The shoe rack that I'd smashed into pieces had been like that since yesterday. I fell, you see, and the bat I was holding at the time slammed into it.
This is what happens when you swing around something you're not used to handling.
I kept that fact that I was more of her business to myself. That it was none of her business.
But leaving it like this will really startle your parents when they get home. I'll fix it up for you later.
Now come on, K-Chan. The terminally ill need their rest. Come, come. Back to bed. Back to bed.
Both of them urged me up the stairs. I had no chance to call Oshi-san. I was pushed into my bed. As it was the first time Mian had been in my room, she began searching around it intently. She fiddled around my room and scolded by Irina. You can imagine how it went. It was uncomfortable having my room poked around by the conversation was so benign that it was heartwarming. During that innocent conversation, Mian said something as though it was perfectly ordinary.
Rena, did you call the manager?
Yep. Right after I called Michan. He said he'd be right over.
Manager? That out-of-place word gave me a bad feeling. Rena called a doctor, then called Mian, and after that she called a manager? I don't think she thinks a doctor's coming, bro. They're straight up lying to you all the time. Who is this manager? Since Rena and Mian's conversation was so peaceful, it only felt slightly odd. What are you two talking about? Who's this manager?
Don't you know, K-Chan? We mean the manager when she says manager.
Like the director of a movie. Or like a foreman of a construction site.
Uh-oh. I dug through all my memories of a manager who might have business with me. Only one thing came to mind. What Rena had just said. The construction site foreman. The very first victim of the first incident, the dismemberment at the damn construction site. The foreman? But that was strange. He was supposed to be dead. There was no way they could call him. They're talking about Orashiro-sama, are they not? I don't understand what you guys are talking about. What does that manager have to do with me? You said he was coming. Did you mean my house? I asked one obvious question after another. But all the two of them did was smile coolly at each other. There was a huge difference between how the two of them appeared and how my suspicions were playing out. Slowly, it felt discomfort and panic welling up inside me. I couldn't understand what Rena and Mian were talking about.
K-Chan, you've gotten into baseball lately, haven't you? Pretty sure the manager will be happy to hear that.
So who is this manager?
The manager is the manager.
So who is this manager? Rena and Mian looked at each other and laughed haughtily. That disturbing crackle unpleasantly resounded around me. That laugh, long enough to be unsettling, ended abruptly.
Oh yeah, we should finish up before the manager comes. You remember, don't you, K-Chan?
Her face was laughing, but Mian's eyes told a different story. Remember what?
Kid-chan, had he forgotten, I wonder? About the penalty? About the penalty?
Did you really forget? The homework with the mochi? The homework where you were supposed to guess which one Rena made. You forgot about that homework, didn't you?
I certainly did have that homework, but I had thrown away the rest of the mochi after I found the sewing needle, so I wasn't able to answer which one Rena made. The penalty for that? Why now? No doubt my question was written all over my face. Their answer to my question was that dry laughter. I could no longer make heads or tails of anything. I began to think that the entire day was somehow insane, strange, incomprehensible. Being chased by Rena, attacked by strange men, the penalty Mian and Rena were talking about. What were these two laughing at? I didn't take the I didn't take that long for me to realize I had been dragged into an abnormal situation. Who were these two? Who were these people? Who were these doppelgangers of Rena and Mion? Rena had gotten behind me at some point. Why was she pinning my arms behind my back? What are you doing?
Don't move. This is your penalty.
My body was already sluggish, and Rena pinning my arms made it much harder to move. I seriously tried to struggle, but she wouldn't even budge. My panic began to well up, and I realized this was well beyond the realm of jokes and pleasantries. This freakishly monstrous strength, it would have been impossible for the Rena that I knew. Then, these thin, frail arms grasped me firmly. Whose arms were they?
Kei-chan, no struggling. Club rules. There are no exceptions. You can't fight against the penalty.
Mion. No, that thing that looked like Mion spoke to me like Mion would speak to me. But I was certain that this was not Mion. Someone who wasn't Mion. Someone who's just pretending to be Mion.
Need to finish this up before the manager comes.
Mion fished into her pockets and pulled out something bizarre. I could tell what it was just by looking, but for such a thing to be in her pocket, my mind wouldn't accept it. What is that? It was a small syringe. It was a small, clear syringe, like what a doctor would use when you went to him when you were sick. Rena held me even tighter, and I could hear that clattering laughter. No longer sounded like laughter blaring into my ear. That eerie laughter. It was something that the Rena and I knew could ever produce from her own throat. This thing that was pretending to be Rena, was that her real laugh? Unable to defend myself, the syringe Mion was holding drew closer, and that needle tip was waved in front of my face countless times.
Don't worry. Don't worry. It won't hurt. It won't hurt.
What are you planning on doing? What kind of sick joke is this?
What are you saying, Kei-chan? You know exactly what's going on, don't you?
About what? I don't understand any of this at all.
I know you know. No use playing the fool this late in the game.
Stop talking nonsense and trying to confuse me.
You're going to have to... You're going to have done what happened to Tomatake-san.
What? The same as Takantaki-san? I didn't really understand what she meant. What did that have to do with the syringe?
You're playing dumb, Keiichi-kun.
Oh.
You're playing dumb, Keiichi-kun. You should have realized it by now.
Rena whispered in my ear, laughing as if to admonish me. But even the way she spoke was repulsive beyond compare. Playing dumb? Me? About what? What do you mean, the same as Tomataki-san? They mean they're gonna make you kill yourself.
Everyone thought at first that it was a hit and run, except when the officer got closer to check if he was still alive.
He said, oh, I did.
Everyone thought it was a hit and run at first, except when the officer got closer to check if he was still alive, he soon noticed it wasn't a normal situation. His throat was scratched out.
From a knife or something?
No. Nails.
Nails? Nails as in fingernails. With those gouged through. That's right. Tomataki-san had clawed out his own throat with his own nails and died. There's no way someone could die like that. So then, for that to happen, we thought drugs were to blame, but nothing of that nature was detected. That's right. The police didn't find any drugs in Tomataki-san's system. The police told me they didn't find any drugs in Tomataki-san's body. What?
Gwe.
The two of them laughed together with that sickening laughter. Of course they'd laugh. To assume that such a medicine didn't exist just because the police don't know about it was completely foolish. Meaning, the drug caused Tamataki-san to die in such a bizarre manner did exist. If Mion injected this into me, then that would probably be all the proof I needed. That would basically mean I'd end up the same as Tamataki-san, become hysterical, scratching at my throat in my last moments, then die. For such an outrageous drug to exist, for Mion to be holding it, and that I was about to be injected with it. At that moment, I did not feel there was any need whatsoever to question it. What kind of idiot, when he's trying to dodge a ball falling straight for his face, has time to think of a reason as to why it's flying at him?
Just give up. All right, then.
Mion's actions lacked any gravita, and that made it even more terrifying. There was none of the ceremony like when someone is sentenced to death. There was no hesitation at all, as if she were brushing her teeth. Mion reached out one hand and grabbed onto my chest. It felt like electricity had run through the back of my head and the entire world had gone dark. Did I stand up too fast, or did something hit me really hard in the back of the head? Having lost my sense of balance, I was assaulted by a wave of dizziness. Wow, holy shit. They fucking killed Keiichi. I squatted down for a bit when I came back to my senses. My entire room had changed drastically. The numbness in my head was gone, and slowly I could tell blood was flowing into my extremities again. How long had I been squatting here? How many minutes? Or has it been hours? It was almost as if the hands on the clock had stopped moving the entire time my eyes were closed. That's how little time passed. Really? The air in the room wasn't filled with that madness from before, only a dull silence. Rina wasn't there pinning my arms, and Mion wasn't there about to inject me with a needle. No way. Could it be? All of it? Was a hallucination? No way, bro. There was no other presence in the room besides my own. It was the weirdest experience I'd ever had. It was certainly with Rina and Mion. I doubted my sanity for a moment, but I was also seized with some sort of comfort. I guess that terrible ordeal was a hallucination. Neither Rina nor Mion, they would never do something so terrible. My head grew hot. I could tell my emotions were welling up. Why? That wasn't a reason to cry. Why? I was sorrow. Why was I sad? I don't understand. I don't understand. Kind to everyone, not discriminating against age or gender. Mion. That Mion was sprawled by the window in an unnatural pose. Blood stained her a deep red from her head down to her chest. The bright crimson smeared on the walls that splattered had undoubtedly come from Mion. She always had that bright smile and was kind to me from the day I transferred. Rina. That same Rina was slumped at my feet and was making the same pool of blood as Mion. They're dead? I couldn't comprehend what had happened. Did someone come to save me? Then they beat these two down with this metal bat? I finally noticed the weight in my right hand. How long had it been there? It was Satoshi's metal bat. It was covered in a deep red. There is no doubt about that. This was the weapon used to mutilate both of them. And I was holding that weapon. I was the only person in the house. Looking at this objectively, I couldn't think of anyone other than myself who could have done it. I did this? That's right. Keiichi Maribara. Of course I did it. I told myself gently, as if coaxing myself. Hey, me? There is no reason for you to remember it, nor is there a need to regret it. Eat or be eaten. You get that, don't you? But the blood, there's so much. Neither Rina nor Mion had moved an inch. It wasn't just a split forehead or a trickle of blood, nothing that simple. The entire room was splattered with red, and that told me it didn't end with just 2 of 3 strikes. Were they dead? Both of them?
The depths of my mind were calm. On the surface, I was panicking and agitated. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. What happened to your usual calm self? Come on now. Do like you always do. Throw your head back and take a deep breath. Come on. Once. Twice. Breathe deeply. Calm down. Calm down. I chattered that over and over in my head and relaxed. Color came back to my vision and smells reinfused the air. At the same time, I remember what happened when I blacked out. Rina and me had attacked me. They were about to inject me with whatever caused the same symptoms as Tamataki-san, but right before that happened, I fought back. I twisted my whole body and threw Rina as she was pinning my arms. Then I followed through with my spin and rammed my foot as hard as I could into Mion's torso. It was soft. Rina tried jumping on me, and I tackled her as hard as I could and slammed her right against the wall. I didn't let that brief moment of having them off balance slip by. Satoshi's bat that was left carelessly by the side of my desk. Bleep. At that moment, everything went pitch black. There was nothing recorded past the point of videotape in my mind. No, that wasn't right. It wasn't that there was nothing recorded. It was recorded just fine. Just the other me inside myself had told me not to look and had turned off the TV. Just because the screen had gone black and I couldn't see it didn't mean that the videotape within me hadn't recorded it. The TV was just off. The video was still playing. The tape within me, creaking along, still playing. On the other end of that pitch black screen, that horrifying video was still playing on. Compared to this, though, the scene right before my eyes was still so difficult to take in. There was blood splattered everywhere, on the walls, the two of them in these unnatural poses. Not a sign of movement from them. I couldn't even tell if they were breathing. No matter what the circumstances were, my friends, these girls, I had attacked them. I may have even killed them. But if I hadn't done this, I would have been the one done for. Balancing that out with an imaginary skull, it felt odd that I'd even feel bad about it. Even if it was a bit excessive, this is justifiable self-defense. The proof was all there. The two of them collapsed here in Mion's syringe. Mion's syringe filled with some unknown drug would certainly solve the mystery surrounding the incident with Tamataki-san. And from the fact that both of these two were involved, they'd be able to pick out the criminals after the other. Still, I might be suspected for this. No shit you're going to be suspected for it. You fucking bashed their brains in. But that was just fine. Anyway, now this should be a police affair. This wouldn't fade into darkness like Rina's past incidents. As long as the police were involved, that should bring this to a close. They'll probably revisit their investigation on the chain of incidents. Oshi-san would definitely get to the bottom of it. Meaning my wish of not wanting to die, of wanting to know the truth, that would be fulfilled in the most basic form. It was all a matter of time now. The doctor Rina called should be getting here soon. Why do you still think there's a doctor coming, you dumb fuck? I'll confess everything to him. I needed to contact Oshi-san. At that moment I remembered, besides the doctor, a manager had been called. It was easy to imagine that they were someone deeply involved in the incidents, judging from Rina and Mion's conversation. The ache in my chest caused by the gruesome deed I'd done dissipated rapidly. He definitely got injected by it. I mean, I don't know why he thinks he didn't. It was not over yet. This place was no longer safe. Stay calm, Keiichi Maebara. It's not over yet. I needed to live long enough to tell the police of this incident. At that moment, I felt like I had heard someone's voice from outside. Since people were speaking, it must mean there was more than one person. I moved the curtain over so slightly and peered outside. It was a bizarre sight. About 4 or 5 grown men were all gathered at the gate. They very much resembled the 2 men who had assaulted me at the dam site today. Those two might even be among them. There was one person there wearing a white coat, but he didn't look like a doctor at all. My gut told me he was in disguise, only posing as a doctor. That guy would probably ring the bell and get me to open the front door. Pretend to be a doctor to get me to open the door, and then the rest of them would all rush in at once. At that moment, I saw the car parked behind the men. My heart nearly skipped a beat. The white van! The one that hit you. No mistaking it. That van, the one that had tried to run me down. The man in the white coat entered the gate and headed towards the front door. The rest of the men hid in the bushes and watched him. I probably couldn't pretend that I wasn't home. Undoubtedly, they just break the window and enter. I needed to get out of here somehow. Then use a public phone to contact Oshi-san. Then meet up somewhere. First of all, I needed a weapon. Then shoes. You have a weapon. But before all that, there was one thing that I had to do. I had no intention of dying. I'd live and reveal the truth about the nonsensical curse of Orishiro-sama. But what would happen from here on, regardless of how determined I was, may bring about my demise. And that was why. There was one thing more important than getting out of here right now. I needed to get that clock out quickly and take down the note hidden behind it. Damn it! The tape was sticking to it fast. I'd be fine if it was torn a little. I'd opened up a slightly torn note and began writing another passage with a ballpoint pen. If I wasn't able to inform Oshi-san, then the only thing I could rely on was this note. I'd never thought a piece of torn college-ruled notebook paper could be this reliable before. I had no time. I'd only write what I knew right now. I needed to leave some sort of information that would lead them to uncover the truth. Rian and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. This was undeniable fact. I still don't want to believe it, but it was a fact. Anyway, I'd leave all the information that would help lead them to finding the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This was everything I was able to see from the window. There may be more. Also, there was the unidentified person known as the manager. To begin with, the term manager didn't even mesh with Hinamizawa at all. If they were going to include the managers from the past incidents, then the only one is the construction foreman, the victim from the first murder. You dumb fuck. The very first victim of the chain of incidents. Killed in a lynching, his body divided into 6 pieces. His right arm was never discovered. The police should have confirmed that death. But Rina and Mion did both call him manager. They said manager. They wouldn't use that term to refer to someone who was dead. The police would never even conceive that someone who was deceased could be involved. Could that be some sort of oversight? I don't know. But even if I don't know, it could be a big hint for Oshi-san. That's right. And they needed to start fresh from the first incident. It wasn't just a simple dismemberment, but the start of this string of mysterious deaths that would follow. So then, there must be something hidden there. Please reinvestigate the victim from the dismemberment incident. He's alive. Why do you think that? The manager is obviously Orishiro. What are you talking? His death should have been established after an autopsy. Logically, you'd think that as much. But was that really the case? Could it have been some sort of ploy that they were able to deceive the police with? I shouldn't jump to conclusions, but he may still be alive. I had no time to ponder that right now. Oh yeah, there's something even more important that I need to write. Tametake-san's death was from an unknown drug. That's right, that drug. It was an irreplaceable piece of evidence. No doubt, just by having this, everything would be uncovered. I couldn't just leave that vital clue lying on the floor. This syringe is proof. Writing that down, I stuck the syringe onto the back of the clock with plenty of tape, so it absolutely would not slip out and fall onto the floor. Firmly.
Bing bang.
The bell rang. They were here. I couldn't write anymore. But even still, there was one last thing that I had to write. I have no idea why it has become like this. This may be the closest thing to the truth out of everything I've wrote on this note. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead, though you may or may not find my body. If I was going to write out everything that could happen, either dying from the curse or being demoned away, you who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. With this, my last will and testament was complete. It wasn't certain that I was going to die, but it was my final plea, just in case. Sorry. I folded the note, stuck it back into the back of the clock, and returned the clock back to its usual spot. I couldn't help but pray. I feel like... Sorry. Real quick. I don't think that that's a very good spot to hide your note anymore, dude. I mean, you're putting a syringe to the back of the clock, and already that's going to stick off the wall. You know what I mean? That's gonna hang off the wall like quite a bit when a clock is just kind of gonna sit there. You're kind of smart with the note, but the syringe is stupid. Yeah, that's dumb. You should have hidden the syringe in a different place. Maybe put it on the note or something. But also, now that you've taken down the clock and written on this piece of paper, you're covered in blood. Are you not? Are you not covered in blood right now? Bro, well, they're gonna walk into this room, see Mion and Rina dead on the floor, and your bloody ass handprints all over the clock. They're gonna think like, oh, he probably grabbed something from the clock. We should probably take that down. This dude's stupid. That's all I gotta say. This dude's stupid. I couldn't help but pray. Oshi-san, if something happens to me, I'll leave the rest to you. After that, I gazed down silently at Rina and Mion. This was probably the last time we'd ever see each other. Rina, Mion, I really had thought all of us were friends. But why did it end up like this? I never had any fun in my previous school. I only worried about standardized test scores, about if the school I had hoped to get into was where I really wanted to go, or a safety net. That was all I talked about. It was a dull life. The people I called friends were also my rivals in studying, in competitions, in personal records, and standardized test scores. Everyone here taught me how unhealthy that lifestyle was. This month was really fun. Making a fuss over lunch, making a fuss over the club, making a fuss over the festival. Something hot began dripping from my face. Uncontrollable tears. I should have had no obligation to shed tears for them. But they wouldn't stop. Even if they were after my life. Even if they were trying to kill me. Even that happening this month, I wouldn't forget it. Or could it be those happy days were all a facade as well? Was it all a trap, meticulously orchestrated up until today to ensnare me? Where's my snare? Could it have been that I had just arbitrarily assumed that they were my friends? That couldn't have been the case. Both Rina and Mion, they were really my friends. Those happy days, there was nothing fake or unclear about them. Someone probably forced them to try to kill me. Or their minds were taken over, possessed by the supernatural entity known as Orashiro-sama. That's that one. Regardless, both Rina and Mion, they were my best friends ever. And when they were coming after me, it wasn't of their own volition. Wait, they weren't the kind of people to sell off their friends, regardless of whether or not they were forced. There's no way such a thing like being possessed by Orashiro-sama could happen in reality. Then, did the real Rina and Mion come after me? What was I thinking? What a silly, dumb question. Having beaten down by both Rina and Mion, I was still debating if they were the real ones or fake ones. There was no real or fake, only reality that was before me. Rina and Mion were sprawled at my feet, that it was the only truth. I was the only trying to twist the facts to my benefit that I had beaten my friends to death. No matter how I spun it, it wouldn't change reality. Rina and Mion were both dead. I felt like there was a crack in the dam of strange emotions I was holding back. It felt like my calm state, which was nothing more than a bluff, had receded. And in that opening, insanity was leaking out. I killed them. I killed them. Rina and Mion. I killed them. The doorbell rang again. The unrelenting echo pulled me back into a state of composure once again. I didn't have a moment to spare. Quickly, I needed to get away. I didn't want to die. I would uncover everything after that. The identity of whoever or whatever had punished me or pushed me this far. Even if I had to drink mud and eat grass, I would survive. I would survive. I would definitely survive. I killed Rina for that very reason. I also killed Mion. Reading that again. I killed Rina for that very reason. I also killed Mion. I went that far just to keep living. So I can't die. For my sake, and for the sake of the late Rina and Mion. I have to survive. I ran towards the door. Why? Why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? Why is he so stupid? Why is he doing this? Jump out the window and run away or something, dude. Go out the back door. Why are you... Don't tell me he answers the door. Please don't tell me he answers the door. I'm closing my eyes right now. I don't want to read it. I ran towards the door and grabbed my shoes. The doorbell rang again as if to urge me on. Behind this single solitary door, they were there. Keeping quiet, I headed towards the kitchen. Oh, thank God. Headed towards the back door. Before opening the back door, I put my ear to it and checked for people outside. No one? After I put on my shoes, I opened the door slowly, so as not to make a sound. There he is! The back door! A piercing voice echoed out. That voice stabbed through me, setting my hair on end. I had to run. Get out of here, Keiichi! One after the other, I felt stuff like rationale and intelligence, those things you use when you have time to spare, spill out of me. I didn't feel any pain from the branches scratching my arms and forehead. My autonomously pulsing heart also felt neither fatigue nor pain. My entire being just wished to live. There was nothing else to desire. There was nothing else I desired. It probably had no complaints whatsoever. So of course I wouldn't feel fatigue. I just ran. Just recklessly rushing to the direction I was already heading. Even if nobody was chasing after me, I'd still be running like this. There wasn't a thought in my mind about where I was headed. Turning around, I felt a presence right next to me. The presence was, without a doubt, chasing me, like my shadow. If I took even one misstep, I would be devoured. That's what I thought. So I didn't turn around. I didn't stop. I ran. At full speed.
Quack, 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 quack.
That was the chirping of the Higurashi telling me it was evening. Trying to tell me something, and then I finally heard it. The wailing cry of the victims who didn't make it. Would I be joining them?
Quack, 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 quack.
Only the Higurashi knew. Only they knew everything. They definitely knew. So I ran towards where I could hear more of the Higurashi chirps. But the farther I ran, the farther away their chirping became. I couldn't get near them. Why are you all running away? Was it my fault? Was I the one to blame? Then I'll apologize. I'm sorry. 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 I felt that only the Higurashi knew. Wow, man. This is intense. Both Rina and Mion are dead. This is wild. The smoking room was filled with a cloud of cigarette smoke. The expensive smoke filter gave off some crackling electric noise, but it didn't seem like it was doing anything at all. Why do smokers have to be shoved so far down the corridor where the sun didn't even reach? I recall hearing that the tax revenue from tobacco was about 1/10 of the municipality's revenue. We were the most heavily taxed members of this municipality, so I really wish they'd show us a little more respect. Why'd you discard the 5-man zoo there? It's just decreasing your options. One of the younger detectives was having a staring contest with the Mahjong magazine called Next Turn. Yeah, this is Oshi. You're still in Tenpai if you cut the 5-man zoo.
If you're betting on the Haite, then shouldn't you be going with the Mangan?
Kun-chan, look at the pawn. They all discarded the 5-man zoo. It's a safe tile. You'd hate if at endgame someone was sitting on a Tenpai on the last turn, wouldn't you? The kid let out another groan.
Yeah.
Put out a cigarette, then took out another one.
I just don't agree. Why would you reduce your own options?
By the way, you can't call Ron with your winning tile in that hatai.
What? Why is that?
Just then I heard a voice coming from down the hall.
Are you here, Oshi-san?
You have a call from a civilian. Whoa, ain't that something? Well, see you soon.
Well, why can't you call Ron on it? Hold on for a second, Oshi-san.
The man sitting in the seat Oshi-sen was heading towards waved at the telephone receiver.
Outside line. From a payphone. Oh, why thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting. This is Oshi. Who is it?
Oshi-sen. Hello?
If it isn't Mayabara-san, why, good evening.
From the tone Mayabara-kun's voice, I already knew he was in a predicament. This was the first time Mayabara-kun had phoned me, and he was calling from a payphone.
Please calm down. Did something happen?
Well... His voice was erratic all over the line. He had completely lost his sense of composure. After checking that nobody else could hear, I prompted him in a hushed tone. What happened?
Calm down, Mayabara-san. I had the local officers head to your location. I'll be there soon, too.
I think that's impossible. His voice was quivering and hoarse. He wasn't surrounded by people even as he was making this call, was he? Ooh.
Mayabara-san, you're calling from a payphone right now, right? Where is that payphone?
There were no other sounds beside Mayabara-kun's voice. I had to be a phone booth. I scratched out a note and thrust it into my colleague sitting across me. Hinamizawa phone booth. He understood quickly and hastily started at the internal lines. Oh my God.
Calm down, Mayabara-san. What is your current situation?
It usually wasn't a good idea to tell someone panicking to do so, but this was not a usual case. Mayabara-kun didn't just get in trouble, get away, and then call me. He was in the midst of something dangerous right now. But yelling at Mayabara-kun right now would just needlessly cause him to be even more frantic. Mayabara-kun wasn't just calling to seek help. He was trying to tell us something more than that. And whatever that was, if I didn't get it from this call, I was certain there would never be another chance. My colleague pushed a note in front of me. There's only one booth in Hinamizawa. A patrol car is on its way. 5 minutes.
That's too long. How many officers are in there?
2.
Not enough. If it was as I imagined, there were likely quite a few people surrounding Mayabara-kun. 5 minutes was too long.
Did you call the officer station in Hinamizawa?
He's scheduled to be on patrol. They're currently out, and it'll be impossible to contact them.
God damn! Kuma-chan, bring the car around.
Understood.
Hello?
Oshi-sen. Hello.
It's all right. I can hear you loud and clear.
There was something wrong with Mayabara-kun. That wasn't a normal coughing sound. Vomiting? Or is it blood? Had he already been attacked? Was he injured?
Mayabara-san, the police are on their way. They'll be there in a couple minutes, so hold on somehow. Hello? Can you hear me? Mayabara-san.
I could hear on the other end of the line that he was waving a coughing fit. The worst possible situation popped into my head. Mayabar-san! Who is the culprit? How many are there? I thought at first the culprit was human. I couldn't tell if it was a cough or vomiting. Are you alright, Mayabar-san? I thought that the culprit was a person and not Orashiro-sama's curse. Up until right now. But I guess in the end... It was an intense bout of coughing, then vomiting. But I guess Orashiro-sama does exist. No, he's here. Mayabar-san, please just calm down. I had been thinking it was strange for a while now. It's been following me this whole time. I run and run and run and run, but it just sticks to me like a shadow. But slowly, so slowly, it's digging itself into my back. Mayabar-san, are they right now, perhaps? Right behind you? Behind me? Right behind me? Please, Mayabar-san, I can tell you're scared, but please, who is it that's right behind you? I can't just look behind me. If I do, I understand that you're scared, but please, tell me. You just need to turn around a bit. Who is it? Who is behind you, Mayabar-san? Right after I said that, I could hear him vomiting intensely. What followed was a nightmarish sound. Mayabar-san, it couldn't be that you're clawing out your own throat? How was he supposed to answer that? There was no answer, but I could hear something like scratching. There was a bang as if something was being hit. Mayabar-kun had probably dropped the receiver. I could hear groaning and vomiting over the other end and repeating abnormal noise. Hello? Hello? Mayabar-san! Hello? I knew how far away my voice would sound on the other end, but I couldn't help but shout. At that moment I heard whispering coming from the other end. I couldn't tell what he was saying. From the way he was saying it, he was talking to himself, or was he talking to someone there? Hello? Mayabar-san! Rather than whispering, it was some kind of mantra he was chanting over and over. I focused my senses, trying to pick up what he was saying. What was he repeating? What exactly? Beep! Suddenly the line went dead. Did he just use up his time? It was because it was a payphone. Ah! It was because it cut out so abruptly. The last thing he said came out so clearly in my mind. Oshi-san.
Oshi-san, the car is good to go. Oshi-san.
I'm sorry.
Oshi-san?
That's what he was repeating over and over. He said, I'm sorry. I had a gut feeling there was no longer a need to hurry. I could hear the chirp and the Higurashi spilling in from the open window. I think there's still a reason to hurry, bro. I'm not gonna lie. What if somebody takes the body?
Creak, 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 creak.
I should have been able to hear them this entire time. I just wasn't paying any attention. Why did I focus on them all of a sudden?
Creak, 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 creak.
Were they trying to tell me something? Only the Higurashi knew. That's how I felt. July 1983. In Hinamizawa, a remote village near Shishibone City, there was a murder involving 2 female students. The suspect is Keiichi Maribara, aged 1X, 14. The suspect called over his 2 female classmates, Rina Rugu, Mian Sanazaki, to his house and beat them to death with a metal bat. The scene of the crime was the suspect's room on the 2nd floor of his house. The inside of the room was covered with significant quantities of splattered blood, and there were signs of a struggle with the victims. In addition to the scene of the crime, the entryway, living room, and kitchen had all traces of a struggle. At the entryway, the shoe rack and wall had evidence of being impacted by a strong, blunt force. It is believed that to have been the same bat as the murder weapon. Having no traces of blood, it is believed the destruction occurred before the murders. There is the possibility that the suspect overpowered his victims to keep them from fleeing. In the living room, the rug had been pulled back, then thrown aside. It's hard to believe that this had a connection to the struggle with the victims, and thus the reason for this remains unknown. In the kitchen, the garbage bag was torn apart, and its contents were spread out on the floor. Garbage was strewn about in the surrounding area, and handprints believed to belong to the suspect were discovered. It is believed that the suspect had, for some reason, taken out the garbage and struck it with his fists. The reason for this remains unknown. In addition, there was a note stuck to the fridge. The words, "Was there a needle?" were written on it. The meaning behind this remains unclear. He never fucking cleaned up the garbage after doing that. The meaning behind this remains unclear, just in case the garbage was searched but a needle was not discovered. Though the garbage door was functional, it had been left open ever since the suspect moved in. The garage door was found closed. The suspect's fingerprints were discovered on the garage door. The reason behind this remains unknown. The suspect fled the scene of the crime. However, a patrolling officer at Hinamizawa local PD found the suspect collapsed inside a phone booth. At the time of discovery, the suspect was unconscious in critical condition. He was rushed to the local hospital for treatment but did not regain consciousness and died 24 hours later. He's dead, bro. The results of the autopsy indicate the immediate cause of death to have been hypovolemic shock. It was determined that the suspect had clawed out his own throat with his fingernails and the resulting bleeding caused his death. With the similarity to the death of Tomitake-san the prior week, the police believed there to be a connection and have opened an investigation. However, due to the wishes of local authorities, it would be confidential investigation. Fuck them, bro. Due to the abnormal nature of the death, it was suspected that drugs were involved, but with the Tomitake-san, no traces were discovered. What prompted all this remains inexplicable. As such, this case is being treated as an act committed on impulse. However, with several accounts of the suspect's bizarre behavior leading up to the incident, it is possible that this was premeditated. Separated from his group of friends, isolation, inexplicable behavior. Several days before the incident, the suspect began carrying around a metal bat. The suspect was observed displaying aggressive behavior as well as talking to himself at school. His classmates have actually heard portions of what he was saying. 2 days before the incident, the suspect declared to his parents the possibility of his death. Due to these circumstances, the police have begun an investigation on the possibility that this crime was not committed on impulse but was instead planned several days in advance. Yikes. Afterwards, a note was found in the suspect's room that he had written himself. The note was written on 2 sheets of B5 college ruled notebook that had each been torn in half. As if trying to conceal it, was stuck behind a clock on the wall. The contents are as written in the appendix. The police believe it to be strongly related to the incident. Yeah, I would agree. The police changed their line of investigation based on the possibility the suspect was involved in some sort of incident himself. However, no further clues were found, casting doubt on the credibility of the note. Was the crime impulsive or premeditated? With the situation unclear and no further developments, the case has been labeled as unresolved. Still open, though? Or what? However, the following year, suspicion arose regarding the nature of the note. The note was not written on 2 halves of B5 paper from 2 separate sheets, but originally was a single sheet of B5 paper. In order to erase several lines from the middle, someone had torn them out. Oh, shit. Judging from the size of the letters, the missing section is estimated to be B2 to 3 lines. It is highly probable that the person who eliminated the lines in question is not the suspect. In addition, judging from the traces of large quantities of cellophane tape being stuck to the back of the clock, speculation is something other than the note was stuck there has arisen. The person who first discovered the crime was a detective rumored to have a connection with the incident. Kuroda Oshi. He underwent voluntary questioning, but denies involvement in any damages to the note. The suspect's note. I, Keiichi Miyabara, am in fear of my life. I do not know why they are after my life. The only thing I know is that it has to do with Oroshiro-sama's curse. Rina and me are co-conspirators of the perpetrators. They are 4 of 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This is all the first sheet. Everything below it has been ripped out. Oh. This is the second sheet. Everything above has been ripped off.
I have no idea why it has become like this. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead. Though the only difference may be the presence or lack of a body. You who are reading this, please uncover the truth. This is my only desire. Keiichi Maribara. I didn't get a say on how fast that was going. Oh, shit. Title card come in like a train, bro. Boom! Higurashi when they cry. A new scenario has been unlocked. All cast review session has become available. To play it, select extra on the title menu and then pick all cast review section. All right. Please uncover the truth. Oh, wait. I did it. I beat the game. Shit. Okay. Let's see. Extra. I want to see what this extra thing is. All cast review session.
Thank you for buying Higurashi When They Cry Onikakushi, a visual novel by 7th Expansion. How was it? If you enjoyed it even a little bit, it would make me happy.
I enjoyed it.
Even a little bit is stretching it. That incredibly dark ending made me angry, you know. It made us angry. As I understand it, this Onikakushi chapter is supposed to be somewhat of a prologue to the entire series.
Really? It's a prologue, bro.
How could the prologue have such an incredibly dark ending?
Yeah, but doesn't that happen often sometimes? The player digging through the story in order to avoid a bad ending is the point of these types of games, after all.
It's still just the first chapter. I'm looking forward to the next one.
What happens in the next chapter? Rena, do you know?
Yeah, they said the next chapter will introduce another aspect of the story. That's a strange way of putting it. What does that mean? In this chapter, they introduced the string of mysterious deaths that were happening in Hinamizawa recently, right? The next chapter will introduce some kind of history of Hinamizawa.
I'm very interested in that.
With one strange event happening after another, I got totally lost. What exactly is Oroshiro-sama's curse about? Actually, what is Oroshiro-sama to begin with? They didn't explain it much.
I haven't heard much about it, but I kind of had a bad feeling about it. It feels like it'll be another one of those scary stories where somebody gets cursed again.
Tough luck, eh, K-chan? What kind of curse is he gonna get hit with this time?
However, I'm looking forward to seeing that kind of story. It's going to be good.
Yes, it is. Sorry for being late. My bad.
Hey, everybody. Good work today.
Same to you. Huh? Where's K-chan?
Keiichi-kun is already reading the script for the next chapter. It must be hard being the main character. Huh? That's too bad. He could have at least poked in to say hello. It's probably because he doesn't have any character art, so he couldn't poke his head in even if he wanted to.
Rika-chan, that's what we refer to as a personal problem.
In any case, the story really was a lot of trouble, especially for Keiichi-kun and Rina-chan. Trouble? That was the mother of all bad ends! I wonder, was with the incident of that thing that attacked Keiichi-kun? My theory is that the work of the people who made it look like a curse. But at the end, Keiichi made that phone call.
Yeah. I also thought that call was strange. At that point, K-chan should have been certain that the culprits were people.
That really was a strange phone call. It almost sounded like he was being chased by a ghost or something. Just from that phone call, it really makes me think that it was a work of a curse after all.
Since we're all here, why don't we all share our theories? Let's start with Sonozaki-san.
I absolutely believe it was people. I think it was a man-made incident that was just imitating the strange folklore floating around Hinamizawa.
Certainly. Every year on the day of the festival for another link in the chain of a mysterious deaths to happen certainly is suspicious.
That so-called chain of mysterious deaths is definitely somebody trying to reenact the folklore, definitely.
I think it was the curse. Looking at the scene where Keiichi-san went berserk in the entryway, and the last scene with the phone call, I just couldn't come to the conclusion that a person was the culprit. When you say it that way, it really wasn't the type of scene that would make you think it was the work of an actual person. Yeah, even then, I still think it was a person who did it. That last scene and the one in the entryway, I think it might have been a delusional episode, brought about by post-traumatic stress disorder.
That would explain it.
I wouldn't know what's going on anymore, even if you didn't use such complicated words. In other words, Keiichi was so scared that he was imagining things. Then, what was the meaning behind that scene? What exactly was that mysterious presence behind Keiichi?
A red herring. Redherring.
Mi-chan, what do you mean by a red herring?
Like old Tamatake here said, that scene was the result of Kei-chan having a stress-induced delusion from being mentally cornered. To expand on that a bit further, it was a ploy to make the player think it was a curse.
He also could have been injected with the syringe. I think it's quite a bit foolish to think that he wasn't.
That's why it was a red herring.
When you say it like that, but... Well, it seems that there's that possibility. In that case, the theory that Oshi-san proposed during the story that it was a conspiracy by the villagers was correct? What does that man himself have to say about that?
Me? It makes you think, eh?
Huh? I totally thought that Oshi-san would be behind the people explanation.
During the story, I said it was definitely the work of people, but if a person really was to blame, that leaves a lot of loose ends.
Like what? Let us hear what Detective Oshi-san's theory is.
First of all, if a human is the culprit, then there has to be a motive. In other words, somebody has to gain something from it.
Oh shit.
So what you mean is, if this was the work of people, there would have been something gained from causing the chain of mysterious deaths.
Exactly. I felt that somebody could have benefited from the deaths of people related to the dam development, but the recent victims were related at all. First off, who benefits from killing Keiichi-kun? Me, bro. I benefit. Fuck that dude. He's so stupid and he's a weirdo. I hate him.
I see. If you say it like that, my case is kind of weak too. I mean, none of your money was stolen. There's no way it was a human culprit. But that's not everything there is to it, right? Like Mi-chan said, there might have been some sort of reason for them to react to folklore.
Exactly. This wasn't a murder where you consider the typical motives. It makes me think that this was most likely some sort of ritualistic murder to reenact the blood-stained history of the village.
So I'll ask the question of the hour. Who gains from this reenactment? It's not about simple benefit, it's more psychological reason. I think that maybe this was an act of revenge. Something native to the region. Fate was unable to fold this time around.
I say, a member of some repressed family looking to air out an old grudge of their ancestors, something like that. I don't like that.
Then what is it? I couldn't be that you're leaning towards curse explanation, Oshi-san.
That's right. The man playing the detective said so. It's decided it was a curse.
If, like how Mayor Barr said during the story, it was the case that Orashiro-sama's possessing Rina and Sonozaki and committed those acts, that would fit the evidence the most. As much as I hate to say.
Actually, I'm of the same opinion as Oshi-san. I can't come up with any other explanation for the normally kind Rina and Mi-chan to suddenly start acting strange like that.
About that, It may sound strange coming from the person herself, but I think that I, Mion, did it.
I don't get what Mii is saying. I'd like an explanation.
Oh, sorry. In other words, I think this may end up being a really cruel story.
Huh? Wait, Mii-chan, you don't mean... If you follow the trail of evidence to the very end, that's how it would seem. I also have my suspicions.
In other words, Rina-san and Sonozaki-san both actually had those personalities to begin with, and were merely deceiving Meibar-san. Am I right?
I don't like that at all. Wah! This is all the curse's fault. Rita said and Mion said and everybody else are all kind, nice people. I think that too. I think that Rina and Mion-chan are really good people at heart. I think that during the story they definitely were possessed by something.
So Rita actually thinks it was a curse. Then let me ask everybody who thinks it was a curse. There has to be a reason for a curse, right? I don't think there would be something indiscriminately cursing everything. Can somebody explain that?
A curse is a curse. Human logic won't get us anywhere. Sadako-chan. A personified deity is, in the end, nothing more than a creation of people. That's why their method of thinking is also understandable to humans. Just take a look at the Greek pantheon. They cry, get angry, get jealous. Basically, they're just like humans. So what you're saying is that Orishiro-sama is cursing people with some benefit in mind? That's an odd way of putting it, but basically, yes.
That's why they say, far from Jupiter, far from his thunder. You have a point.
Basically, it doesn't matter if Orishiro-sama are humans, there has to be a reason. But Rika, what if that reason isn't clear? I don't know. That's right. This is still just the prologue. There's still a lot of stuff that hasn't been revealed yet. Yeah, it's hard to come up with any more theories at this point.
No! I won't be satisfied until this is all made clear.
Mion-san seems rather particular about this as well.
We'll just make the best with what we know. Doesn't this feel interesting? Like the club a little bit?
Yeah. If you put it that way, it does seem interesting.
Well then, let's summarize. Let's see, I think it was a curse. Tamataki-kun thinks it was people, right?
Yeah, I'll go with it being people.
I'll also agree with the people explanation. That's not to say I hate such fantastic things like curses, but in this particular case, the connection is to a curse is a little weak.
2 for the people explanation then. Rina-san was on the curses side of things, right?
Yep. Satoko-chan and I believe it was a curse. Right? Yeah, I think it was a curse. People who say that Rina-san and Mion-san were evil to begin with are more benefiting from a curse.
Well, I don't want to believe that my own personality was that twisted, but I have to be cool when I'm in the club mode. If I base my choices on just emotion, I'll regret it, you know.
Well now, it doesn't really matter which side you pick, does it?
Huh? Rika-chan hasn't said anything yet. What do you think?
Who gives a fuck, bro?
I don't think that Orishiro-sama is a good guy.
I don't think that Oroshiro-sama is a bad god.
Huh, that's an interesting opinion.
I don't want to worship some bad god that just curses people. I'd like a generous god more than one that curses.
That's right, Rika-chan is a shrine maiden. Yep, good opinion.
Then what? If Rika-chan doesn't believe that it was Orishiro-sama, then do you all think the perpetrators were human after all?
Well, just go with that.
Well now, That means the votes are split right down the middle. So half of us think it was a curse and half of us think it was people.
Rena-chan, just for reference, what did the test players who played the beta version think? There was a lot more people who believed in the people explanation.
See, right there. Our veteran comrades are cool, collected, and very observant.
But the beta version only finished partway through the story. That's right. Even the people who played the beta might change their minds if they got through the very end.
What should we do then? This means that the opinions are still split. It's no fun if we don't settle this.
We need to be an odd number of judges, in other words. We need one more opinion. Perfect timing then. Why don't we ask Keiichi-kun himself? Let's call him. The opinion of the victim himself is very valuable. Since that's decided, it's time for the phone. Hello, Keiichi-kun? It's Rina. Are you busy with work right now?
Yeah, really busy. Just when I thought I'd get a break because the chapter's over, it's already time for the next one.
How's K-chan? Busy?
Yeah, he's moping.
I can hear you, you know. It must be nice having a wrap-up party. I wanted to go too.
You can come if you get some character art for yourself.
Oh, fuck.
You can come if you get some character art for yourself. Rika, that's a secret. Sorry about that, Keiichi-kun. Anyways, during the current chapter, Keiichi-kun, didn't you die? We were just talking about who the culprit might be.
Basically, we're deadlocked on whether it was people or Orashiro-sama's curse that killed you.
I'm really sorry, even though you're busy. Oh.
I'm really sorry, even though you're busy reviewing the script. Keiichi-kun, which do you think it was?
That's obvious, isn't it?
Which?
Isn't it both of them? Targeted by suspicious people from the village and then cursed by some strange Oroshiro-sama on top of that? It's both humans and a curse. Everybody's just picking on me.
So very, very pitiful. Next time, I'll pat you on the head for you.
Okay. I thought it was over.
In the end, the opinion's still split, huh?
I think this is over again. We might have missed something.
Well then, please look forward to the next release Higurashi when they cry on a Onikakushi. What's an Onikakushi?
Woo! Nice job. We finished the whole thing. We ate and left no crumbs. I think this is a good time to put in my opinion on how I kind of think it's going. I think legitimately, might have been the only time I actually ever have agreed with Keiichi-kun. I think it really is like curses and people at the same time. Like how they say it's like an ogre's marsh or an ogre's abyss or whatever. And that the ogres would go out and hunt people or whatever, right? I think what the story that Oshi's grandmother told him or whatever was that the demons come out of the marsh, but maybe they go into people, they come out of people and they commit Orashiro-sama's bidding. That's kind of how I believe it's going right now. How every single year there's somebody who dies and somebody who gets spirited away, essentially. That's what they told us, but I have a sneaking suspicion, a theory that I think that's true, that somebody dies and somebody disappears, but I also think that somebody comes back as well every single year. Is my opinion on that. Somebody somebody gets possessed, or somebody's body comes and like gets like taken over by a demon or something. Because like, I mean, I think Rina's the obvious example with that, with how she was possessed by a demon, and or like she like possessed, and she has a transformation or whatever, and she went to her school and like broke all the windows there and beat up 3 kids or whatever. I think that I think that kind of makes sense in that regard. That she's literally being possessed, and I think Mion is another example of that as well. I mean, Mion is super minor, but it's just something that I just remembered. Mion started the club, and according to Rina, she was really bad at all the games that they did, which is like, I guess, super minor. You know what I mean? But she like lost every game, but now she wins all of them. And I think that might be a telling of like something coming into a person and changing them completely. I mean, even with like Satoshi or whatever, right? Like his was like probably more like Keiichi's like circumstance, where he was just super he was more like possessed, or like, no, he wasn't possessed, he was just paranoid, sorry. Satoshi's just paranoid, and he thinks that somebody's out to get him, and very much likely somebody is out to get him, and he ends up being spirited away or transfers out or whatever that means, you know. And so I think that like maybe that's what happened to Keiichi, is that like a demon came in and like possessed him to start acting differently, just like how Mion and Rina started acting a little differently as well. That's like, I don't know. Maybe there's no merit to that at all, but that's kind of how I am seeing this. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'm definitely going to be playing the next chapter, or the next volume, the second volume. Expect more soon. All right. Thank you for watching. Bye.